Today I'll show you how to keep your markers visible in your Find the Marker Roblox game. This video is optional and only recommended for people that want to keep their markers visible, so let's get into it. I'm going to do this video a little bit different to how we've done the others. I'm going to do this almost as a live demonstration. So I've not written a full script to this video that I'm following along with. I'm just going to work as we go, try and keep the cuts in this video to minimal to see the process so I can show you the process of how to do something like this. Because we're not really learning anything new in this video, we're just working what we already have and maybe adding a couple of new bits of code, but it's nothing unlike what we've seen already. So it's nothing that's out of the ordinary. So I will demonstrate how I'm going to do this. So we want to keep the markers visible. The first thing I'm going to do is go to replicate storage. I'm going to delete our hide marker remote event. Now I know that inside of starter player and starter player scripts we have this hide markers script. Let's open this up, and this purely just hides markers. So I'm going to delete that as well. Now if I hit test and play, we'll see what happens. So make sure you have the output window open, that's going to be very important. After a few seconds we get some warnings. Wait for child, hide marker, and it's infinite yield possible. This means the script is waiting for something called hide marker inside of replicated storage, and it's never finding it. So we need to change these scripts. So it's happening twice, once on line 7 inside of the marker handler, and once on line 6 inside of the local script inside of the marker found GUI. So let's stop this. We can actually click on these blue bits here and it will take us to where the errors are happening. So hide marker remote event, we don't need that. Let's remove that from our marker handler script. We now get some errors here. Hide marker remote event, well that doesn't exist, so we'll get rid of that. And the script has no more errors now. Perfect. Now let's go to our second one, which is the local script inside of the marker found GUI. We can't click this because it's inside a player GUI here, and here it will actually be inside a starter GUI. The starter GUI, then marker found GUI, and then the local script. And it's on line 6, just here. So we can get rid of that event there, and we can then also get rid of replicated storage. So now we get this error here, and that's because we're no longer doing our pop-up. So this is how we show our pop-up for when the marker's found. So we need a new way of doing the pop-up. We can't rely on a hide marker anymore. So let's add back our replicated storage, and we'll still add an event, but this is going to be a new event. This will be ShowPopup remote event. And this will be replicate storage, wait for child, and I'll create a new remote event called ShowPopup. So I'll add a remote event and rename this to ShowPopup. And now down here we can just do ShowPopup remote event .onClient event, and it's all the exact same code, we're just changing the remote event. Now let's clear the output and press play again and see what happens. So after a few seconds, we don't have any warnings. Let's go and actually collect a marker now. So we can see now that none of the markers that we found are hiding. Let's find one. So what one have I already found? Green marker. If I select this, we can't grab it anymore. Now let's go over to the blue marker, which I haven't yet found, which is in the orange area. And if I go and collect this blue marker, we'll see what happens. So we touch it. It goes to 6 out of 8. It's marked as found, but we never get that pop-up, and that's because we're never firing the pop-up. So let's open the server script service, open up the marker handler, and this is where we were originally, just here, firing that hide marker remote event. Well, now we need to add a show pop-up, so show pop-up remote event is replicated storage, wait for child show pop-up, and we need to fire that here, show pop-up remote event, fire client, passing in the player, and I believe we're passing in the marker. Let me have a little look. Yeah, we need the marker, so we'll pass the marker in. Perfect. Now, I'm just going to reset the data store and press play. So now when we go to clear the output, collect a marker, let's try this green one. Perfect, it appears on the screen, it says found, 1 out of 8. It gets marked as found in our index, and when we touch it again, nothing happens. Okay, that's all good. Now let's try leaving and rejoining and see if it loads. Okay, so it's still loading and the marker is still there and we can't collect it again. Perfect. Okay, so the only thing we need now really is a pop-up that says that the marker's already been found. Because when they touch the marker that they've already found, we want to make sure that we are having some sort of notification so that they know it's been found. So under Starter GUI, I'm going to add a new screen GUI, and I'll rename this to Error GUI. I will add in a little frame here, and I'll quickly design it how I want, and I'll get back to you once I've done that. Okay, so here is my text label. It's very, very basic. I've got this background frame, which has these properties. You can pause and copy them if you would like. I've got a UI aspect ratio constraint. I've got a UI corner. I've got a UI stroke just to add this outline here. And I've got a text label with the text, which will say already found. I'll update this in script to make it a bit better. But these are my text properties, and here are my size properties. I'm not going to go through them quickly because you should already be making your own GUI. But if you do want to use mine, that's absolutely fine. I'm now going to add in a local script into the background. And this is going to manage our pop-up. Now I'm actually going to cheat a bit with this. So let's go into our marker found GUI, open up this local script. I'm going to copy all of the code here and paste it in. And the reason for that is because I want a similar animation. We're going to have the tween service and the replicated storage. We need our ShowPopup remote event. And the GUI that we need is going to be the background. So background, which is going to be script.parent. And we will also need the text label, which is background.textLabel. So I'm going to keep the exact same settings as before. And I'll go to our tween in. And the first thing we need to do is make the elements visible. So we'll make the background visible. We don't actually need to change the visibility of the text label. So let's just make sure text label is visible and background I'll make invisible so we can't see it. The starting values before the animation. We'll make the text label .text transparency be 1. So before the animation plays. And it's going to have 0 scale. Then we'll animate it in. So rather than this being viewport frame, this will be background. We'll create the tween, this will be background. And the second tween will be the text label. We don't need a third tween. And we want to go from text transparency of 1 to 0. And we want to go to a scale of 1, 1. Now on our tween out, we'll delete that third tween. Tween 1 will be our background. And this will be the same. And tween 2 will be our text label. And this will be the same. Then we can remove tween 3 play. And we'll wait for tween 2 to complete. I'm just going to speed through this because we went over this in our pop-up improvement video. And then we can remove that. We just want to make the background visible to false. And that's it. And now for the show pop-up remote event. We can not clone the marker. We don't need to clone a marker. We don't need to set up a camera. We don't need to position the marker. We just need to set the text. So text label .text is going to be equal to. I'm going to pass in the marker name as a parameter here. And this will be equal to marker name .. and then we're going to say has already been found. Then we will play the animation, wait 2 seconds, and then play the animation out. And then we can remove that bit. We don't need to destroy the markers. And the last thing is we're showing a pop-up here. Well, the pop-up that we're showing isn't the right one. This is the show pop-up remote event or when you find a marker. We want this to be an error pop-up. So I'll say error pop-up remote event is going to be replicated storage, wait for child, error pop-up. And down here, this will be error pop-up remote event. And then we will add a new remote event to replicated storage named error pop-up. And the last thing we need to do then is actually call the error pop-up. So let's close the local script, go into our marker handler, and in our touch event, when we do all these if statements, so if the marker.value is false, then we found the marker. If it's true, so we can add an else here. So if the marker has already been found, then we want to show the error. So let's add error pop-up here. So error pop-up remote event is replicated storage, wait for child, error pop-up. And then we can say error pop-up, fire client, passing in the player that we want to fire the client on, and then the marker name, so marker.name. Just like so. And now, if we close that, press play, let's try and collect this pink marker, and we'll see what happens. We collect it, then we get a bunch of issues down here. Okay, so why is that not working? Well, it's quite simple. First of all, we see that the animation goes really big, and the reason for that is because we haven't added that container. We've copied this script from our marker found GUI, and we have a viewport area like as a container, and down here we don't have a container. So let's duplicate the background and rename this to container. And all we need to do is take this background and put it inside the container. Now let's make the container visible, and the background can be visible too. And we can see that the container is now designed, but we don't want the container to have a design. So we'll keep the UI aspect ratio constraint because we want this to keep the same aspect ratio. We can remove the UI corner and the UI stroke, and we can remove the local script. And now this background, we can set the size to 1010, and we can set the position to 0.50, 0.50 with my anchor point here. I'll put the background transparency of the container to 1, because then if we hide the background, it's almost not there at all. The only thing that we need to do is delete the text label inside the container. So now, if we make the background visible, it's there. Okay, so just to recap that, what we need then, UI aspect ratio constraint in the container. The container should be the size. The background should be a size of 1010 at the position so it's centered in the middle. The UI aspect ratio constraint inside the background we don't need. The UI corner we need, the stroke we need, the local script we need, and the text label we need. Again, I'm not going into too much detail with that. I covered all this whole container thing when we went over the pop-up and made the pop-up animated. So watch that video if you don't really understand what's going on here. Now inside the local script, we can actually keep everything the same. We've not adjusted anything. Alright, let's also hide our background so we can't see that. And we now need to add a debounce so it doesn't show up loads and loads of times each second. So go into the local script. At the very top, we're just going to add a debounce. So we'll add a debounce here. Debounce will be set to false. Now on the client event, what we'll say is if debounce is equal to false, then, and only then, will we do all of this. So if debounce is false, then we'll update the text label, play the tween in, wait 2 seconds, then play the tween out. And only once we've played the tween out will we set debounce back to true. Now if we test this, it should only play once every second. So let's give it a go. So let's go collect our green marker that we've already found. And it's still doing it. And the reason it's still doing it is because I made a mistake. We want to set debounce to true at the start of the if statement and debounce to false at the end of the if statement. So now it should reset. So let's go and collect this yellow marker. It should work. Here we go, it plays it, and then it says it's been found. Now if we touch it, it says it's been found, and it doesn't keep glitching out. Okay, the text has a little glitch there. That's because it's scaling. So if I made text scaled equal false, it wouldn't do that. But I'm not going to worry too much about making it perfect right now. Now we just need to make sure it doesn't say already found if you're collecting it for the first ever time. We'll just say if... Now let's just get one of the labels from our marker found GUI, because if, for example, the found text is visible, we know that they found the marker for the first time because that's popping up. If that's visible, then we don't want to show the error GUI as well. So on our tweening, we'll just say if, and then we need to add into the GUI here, we'll say marker found viewport container equals, that's going to be background, dot parent is our container, dot parent is the error GUI, dot parent is will be the player GUI, then dot marker found GUI, dot, let's just go for the found text. So I'm not going to use the container, I'll say marker found text. And now we can say if marker found text dot visible is equal to true, then return end. If the marker found text is visible, then we'll just return out of this and we won't run the code. So now if we press play, we'll see what happens. So let's touch the green marker that we've already found. There we go, it works properly. And if we go over to the blue marker, which we haven't yet found, we'll see what happens. There we go, so it pops up and it doesn't give us that error message. Now if we press it, it does give us the error message. So it's working. Awesome. Let's just do one more test. So let's test it with 2 clients and see what happens. Okay, so I have 2 clients here. I'm going to have this player on the right. I'm going to have them collecting the marker, and this player on the left, will see what happens. Here we go. So it pops up saying found. If this player checks their index, they don't have it found. This player does. And now if this player presses it again, it says it's been found for them. If they collect it, it says found. And now if they press it, it says it's already been found. Perfect. Now let's stop that. And that's all for this video. I have been given a suggestion which I'll look into for the next video. So please leave your suggestions in the comments on this video ASAP. Because once my next video is recorded in a couple of days' time, I will not be taking any more suggestions. Check out our Discord server, which you can find the link to in the description, where we're trying to build a community of future game developers. You can ask for programming help, help others, or just chat there too. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.